Despite my telling Fiona over and over that I needed alone time, especially with my impending death, Fiona did kind of keep insisting that, okay, this is our last ask. We won't ask more of you, but it just, the asks and the asks and the asks continued. Even during what I thought were going to be my final days in Zermatt, despite feeling very unwell and coughing and sneezing up blood, I was asked to sit outside for at least 8 hours with journalists from the Washington Post and Swiss AP, and who had flown out to interview me. And I don't know why this couldn't have been done on Zoom. Fiona was aware that I felt very unwell, but I didn't feel like I was afforded the luxury of a bit of time, because I would have probably gone to a doctor or at least a pharmacy to try to resolve, whatever before it got worse. Not that it mattered that much, because I knew I was going to die anyway, but it was draining my energy, and I didn't want it to affect the time that I spent with Dave, the man that I love, or tidying up my communications with my friends, because my head was fuzzy from not feeling well, and I just felt myself getting sicker and weaker. I really, I can't say I had no opportunity to tend to my health, but when I had a little bit of time, all I could do was rest. I didn't have the energy sometimes to try to make it a priority. And I must say, not that I've been treated like a princess my whole life, but I've never, ever been treated this way. I've never felt like a commodity before. And I can say with all the truth in my heart that I felt very commodified and very taken advantage of. And the thing is that I'm pretty confident Fiona thought I could be easily manipulated and that I was weak. What she didn't know was that I knew. And I went along with what they requested of me and didn't give much flack, because I had my eye on the prize. At that time it was Sarco, and I felt like I'm going to suck this up and do what they ask of me, and in the end I will have the peaceful death, and I will have the end that I sought. The media circus was just prioritized over and over, and I was just getting sicker and weaker. I felt objectified and commodified and used as a mere means to their end. And it's interesting, because when I wrote my life story for Exit, I said one thing my mom taught me as a hospice nurse was never, ever to use anybody as a means to an end. And she also said, never do anything to hurt somebody. If you have to do something or say something and hurt is a byproduct, you work through that, but don't do anything expressly to hurt somebody or to use somebody. And I must say, I've never felt so used. I've never felt commodified like this. I'm confident they chose me because I was articulate. My background is in corporate communications and speech writing, and I've written a book, and I write. That's the only thing in this world I know how to do. Fiona knew that she could manipulate me, and to them, I'm sure my kindness came across as weakness. And I've even learned, I don't think she knows this, but there are people in her camp who have been kind enough to keep me apprised of things. After I learned that there were articles about Sarco being banned, after I learned that the whole team was at risk of prosecution, and I reached out to Fiona and I was admonished for even asking the question, and we parted ways, I've learned that she has been telling people that I was dramatic and they need a break from the drama, and that I was never serious anyway. I'm serious, and I hope you can tell from my cadence that I'm not dramatic. Not that I don't have my moments like any human, I'm not a dramatic individual. One of the main things about this was when I went to Scotland to honor my parents' final wishes of scattering their ashes in our ancestral McLaughlin homeland. The castle was too far of a hike, so we went to a mausoleum, and Fiona asked if she could accompany me. She said it would be a nice girls' trip, and I bore most of the expenses. This act really should have been a private farewell to my family, but Fiona persuaded me to have Scott, the documentarian, accompany us. It was filmed, and as I told you, this E. coli has made me gain a lot of weight. I'm very self-conscious about it. I don't know how to navigate this world as a heavy person. I really don't. I never have before. And also, I'm uncomfortable using a cane. I'm uncomfortable with all of it, wheelchair, all of it. And I felt embarrassed being filmed scattering my mom and dad's ashes, crying, knowing I looked the way that I looked. I don't mean to sound vain, but that wasn't what it was about. It was really meant to be a private moment between my family and me. I mentioned a little bit about my finances, but I don't think I got into it really very much. And I would love to give you a couple of examples. I sold everything I owned, everything I've ever owned my whole life, and before I did that, I asked Fiona, "Are you absolutely sure that there's no way anything will get in the way of me meeting Celeste? Because if there's any possibility, I'm not going to clear out everything." And she said, "No, get rid of it. No chance. You're good." So I did. I sold my car, and which I had planned to leave to my best friend, but this just turned out to be a more expensive endeavor than I had really anticipated. I had about $40,000 US when I came over. I had already bought my ticket to Switzerland, and this was on me. I splurged on the highest first class I could, muster. I just thought that was worth it because it was a long flight, and I could put my feet up and they wouldn't be all swollen when I got here, and I would be able to walk fine and all that. And I had asked Fiona to help me arrange places to stay because obviously I don't know anything about hotels in Switzerland or anywhere else for that matter in Europe. And she would tell me, "Oh, this hotel is wonderful." And I was like, "Great. But I didn't anticipate that I would be committing to staying in just these. How the word is eluding me. Not elaborate, but very, very fancy hotels that I never ever would have stayed in on my own, even if I were a millionaire. I don't belong in places like that. I don't fit in. I feel out of place. And for example, one hotel she set me up in was the Grand National in Lucerne. I stayed there for 5 nights, and the bill was more than $7,000. My hope was to save as much money as I could and give it to Exit to use as a sort of scholarship to maybe be able to help the next person who needed Sarco but who couldn't afford it. And because by then I learned how expensive the trip was getting to be, and then I hope maybe that would turn into a little pay it forward thing where they might leave money for that trust fund and the next person, and then they would always be able to help people when they needed it. And I was very surprised at the expensive places that I was set up in. And this is a goofy little aside, but it matters to me. My medicine makes me very, very warm, very hot. If you're hot, I'm quite a bit hotter. And the one thing I asked was to please, could I please stay in places with air conditioning? I knew that air conditioning was less common in Europe, so I just said that's the one thing I'll ask. And I believe there were, of all the places I stayed, there might have been 2 that were air conditioned, and it's been very, very warm. I was told, Fiona told me, oh, no, it'll still be cold when you're here. You'll need a heater. It's very warm. It's no heater. I've had to buy a portable air conditioner, which has been a godsend, and I'm grateful for it. But that just gives you an example of how I just don't think they care.